My soon-to-be wife laughed and said, "I'm not signing a prenup, don't be ridiculous." I replied, "I respect your decision." Then I canceled the caterer, the venue, and the florist for our wedding. 2 days later, she was crying on the phone to me. I, 34 male, am, or I guess was, getting married in 3 months. My fiancée, Jennifer, 30, and I have been together for 4 years. It's been good. Easy. We met, we clicked, we moved in together after a year, and I proposed last Christmas. I own a small but successful data analytics company. I started with 2 friends right out of college. I poured my entire life into it. Long nights, ramen dinners, the whole cliché. It's finally paying off, and I'm comfortable. Not mega rich, but the company is my baby, and it has real value. Jennifer is a great person, or so I thought. She works in marketing, has her own career, and we've always kept our finances mostly separate. Just splitting shared bills for the apartment I own. She moved into my place. About a month ago, my lawyer, who helped me set up my company, strongly advised me to get a prenuptial agreement. He said it's standard practice for any business owner. It wasn't about love. It was about protecting the company from being torn apart in a potential divorce. It protects my business partners, my employees, everything. It seemed logical. I wasn't trying to protect a vast family fortune, just the thing I had bled for a decade before she was even in the picture. The terms were simple. What's mine before the marriage stays mine, what's hers stays hers, and anything we build together gets split 50-50. Fair, right? I brought it up with Jennifer last Tuesday. We were tasting cake samples at our kitchen counter. It was a happy domestic moment. Me, "Hey, so my lawyer brought something up that we should probably discuss. A prenup." She stopped mid-chew, a little blob of buttercream on her lip. She looked at me, then let out a sharp, loud laugh. Not a giggle. A full-on condescending laugh. "Jennifer. A prenup? Don't be ridiculous, Michael. We're not 70-year-old billionaires. That's the most unromantic thing I've ever heard." I tried to explain. I talked about the business, my partners, the employees whose livelihoods depend on the company's stability. I stressed that it was about protecting it, not hiding assets from her. Me, it's just a piece of paper to safeguard the business. Everything we build from this point forward, we build together. This is just about what I built before. No, it's a vote of no confidence. It's like you're planning the divorce before we even have the wedding. I'm not signing an in case we break up contract. It's tacky and insulting. I can't believe you'd even ask. She wasn't yelling. It was worse. It was this calm, dismissive arrogance, like I was a child asking for something stupid. She wiped her mouth, pushed the cake box away, and said the line that sealed it. "Jennifer, honestly, Michael, I'm not signing a prenup. End of discussion." I just looked at her, the calm way she said it, the finality. It was like a switch flipped in my head. All the warmth drained out of the room. I wasn't angry. I was clear. In that moment, I saw the future. Any disagreement, any major life decision would be met with the same dismissive wall. Her way or no way. The prenup wasn't the issue anymore. It was a symptom of a much bigger problem. It was about respect. I nodded slowly. "Okay, I respect your decision." And I did. She had every right to refuse, and I had every right to respond to that refusal. The next morning, I didn't say a word about it. We had breakfast, she went to work, everything was normal. As soon as she was gone, I opened my laptop. I pulled up the wedding planning folder. I had paid for the majority of the big-ticket items so far out of my savings. I spent the entire morning initiating the cancellations. It wasn't just a few simple calls. I was on the phone with the venue coordinator, which was followed by a formal email referencing the cancellation clause in our contract. I had to fill out a digital form to relinquish the date for the caterer. Each step was a cold, bureaucratic process. With every "your cancellation is confirmed" email that landed in my inbox, it felt like another door slamming shut on the life I thought I was building. The deposits, $15,000 for the venue, $8,000 for the caterer, $4,000 for the florist, all gone. A $27,000 lesson. It's been 2 days. She hasn't noticed anything yet. We're having dinner, making small talk. But the florist is supposed to call her tomorrow for a final consultation on the centerpieces. The call is coming. I'm just sitting here, waiting. Update 1. Well, it happened. As predicted, the call came. It wasn't the florist, though. It was the wedding venue. Apparently, they had another couple desperate for our date and called to confirm the cancellation before giving it away. They called Jennifer's number, which was also on the contact sheet. I was at my office when my phone blew up. First a string of texts. The venue just called me. They said, "You canceled?" "Michael, call me right now." This is a joke, right? This is some stupid, twisted joke. I let the text sit for a minute, took a deep breath, and then called her. The second she picked up, it was just incoherent noise. Crying, yelling, hyperventilating. "Jennifer, why? Why would you do that? How could you humiliate me like this?" I let her go on for a bit. I didn't interrupt. When she finally paused for air, I spoke calmly. "There's no wedding, Jennifer, so I canceled the arrangements for it." "What do you mean, there's no wedding?" "You made a decision about the prenup. You said, end of discussion. I respected that. My decision is that I will not get married without one, so no wedding." The line went silent for a solid 10 seconds. I could hear her breathing hitch. The crying stopped, replaced by a cold fury. "Jennifer, you canceled our wedding because of a stupid piece of paper? Without even talking to me? Our families have booked flights. I have a dress. What am I supposed to tell people?" Notice she didn't say, "I can't believe we're not getting married." She was focused on the logistics. The party. The optics. You tell them the truth. We disagreed on a fundamental legal and financial issue and couldn't move forward. "Jennifer, they'll think you're a monster, that you're controlling." Maybe. Or maybe they'll understand that protecting the business I built for a decade is a reasonable request. That's when her mother, Barbara, got involved. Jennifer must have been at her parents' house. I heard muffled shouting, and then a new, steely voice was on the line. "Michael, I don't know what kind of power trip you are on, but you are going to call that venue back and fix this right now. You have embarrassed my daughter and our entire family." "With all due respect, Barbara, this is between Jennifer and me. She is my daughter. You think you can just pull the rug out from under her, humiliate her, and expect us to be quiet? You've already spent the money. Just reinstate the bookings, and we can all move past this little tantrum of yours." A tantrum. That's what she called it. They genuinely believed my calm, logical consequence was an emotional outburst. They thought I could be scolded back into compliance. That's not going to happen. The deposits are gone. The wedding is off. I ended the call there. For the next week, it was a full-on assault from her family. I was still living with her, and the tension was unbearable. She moved into the guest room, and we existed like ghosts in the same space. I wanted to tell her to leave that very first night, but I held back. It wasn't out of kindness. It was strategic. Kicking her out immediately would make me the villain, giving her the perfect story of being thrown onto the street by her cold-hearted ex. I needed to handle this cleanly, by the book, leaving no room for her to paint me as the aggressor. After 2 weeks of this icy war, I finally sat her down. I told her she would need to find a new place to live and that I would give her 60 days, more than legally required, to make arrangements. She just stared at me. "Fine, but you owe me. You owe me for all of this." I had a feeling I knew what was coming next. Update 2. This past month has been a masterclass in psychological warfare. The smear campaign to our mutual friends was in full swing, with me cast as the money-grubbing villain. I stuck to the boring rational truth, and it seemed to be working with the people who mattered. The demand for money came, as predicted. Not in a phone call, but in a formal email from Jennifer. It contained a meticulously crafted spreadsheet. It was a work of art in its audacity. They hadn't been foolish enough to list something as vague as emotional distress. No, their method was far more insidious. They had inflated everything. The invoice listed wedding dress and boutique sourcing fee, $9,500. The dress was actually $6,500. Alterations and custom fittings, $2,000. Actual cost was $800. Bridesmaid gifts personalized curation, $2,500. Double the real amount. Bridal shower. Event management and hosting fee, $4,000. A charge for her own mother hosting a party in her home. Non-refundable flight for her aunt, $1,800. A new category, wedding planning and coordination services, $5,000. Apparently for the hours Jennifer and Barbara had put in. Total demand, $24,800. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Each line item was based on a kernel of truth, but grotesquely exaggerated. They were daring me to dispute it, knowing it would be a messy, he said, she said, ordeal. I didn't take the bait. My response was methodical. Subject: your itemized request. Jennifer, I will not be paying for inflated costs, family travel, or fabricated service fees for tasks you would perform for your own wedding. My original position stands. I am willing to reimburse you for the actual, verifiable cost of the non-refundable dress and its alterations. Please provide the original receipts from the boutique and the tailor, totaling $7,300. Upon my reimbursement of this amount, the dress is to be turned over to me. As for your living situation, the 60-day notice period is firm. That puts your move-out date at date. If you are not out by then, I will begin the formal eviction process as advised by my lawyer, Michael. Demanding the receipts was key. I knew she couldn't produce a receipt for $9,500. The refusal to pay for the management fees, while offering to cover the actual dress cost, positioned me as reasonable but firm. And the mention of my lawyer and a formal eviction showed I wasn't playing around. The rage was palpable. Her brother, David, showed up a few days later while I was working from home. He didn't try to be subtle. He blocked my doorway and started talking about how I'd led their family on, not just Jennifer. David, my dad was talking to people. He thought you were going to be family. He thought you were going to help him with his business. The comment hung in the air. Her father, Richard, runs a small, struggling manufacturing company. The pieces clicked into place. This was never just about a marriage. It was about a merger. I stared at David. This is my home, and you are trespassing. Leave now, or the next person you talk to will be a police officer. He blustered, but he left. The threat was a little clearer now. This wasn't just about pride, it was at a failed investment, and they were trying to collect. Final update. It's over. The final act didn't play out with a single dramatic confrontation, but in a series of tense, unraveling conversations that were far more real and ultimately more satisfying. Jennifer ignored the move-out date. The deadline came and went. She was banking on me not having the stomach for a legal battle. She was wrong. The next morning, my lawyer filed the first stage of a formal eviction. It was a slow, expensive, bureaucratic process, but it was the correct one. Then, 2 weeks ago, I got the email from her father, Richard. Subject: a path forward. Michael, I think things have gotten out of hand. The emotion is too high. I'd like to sit down, man to man, and find a sensible solution. Just lunch. My treat. I knew this wasn't about his daughter's heart. It was a damage control meeting for his business ambitions. Against my better judgment, my curiosity won. I agreed. We met at a quiet restaurant. He was smooth. He oozed paternal concern. He barely mentioned Jennifer, instead talking about misunderstandings and hot heads. Then he pivoted. Richard, you know, Michael, what I've always admired about you is your mind. The way you see systems. I've been running my company for 30 years and we're facing logistical hurdles. The market is changing. He was probing, trying to find an opening. It wasn't a clumsy pitch, it was a delicate dance. Me. It's a tough climate for manufacturing. I kept my answers short, non-committal. Exactly. And I always thought, once you were family, that your insight would be invaluable, that we could do great things. It's a shame to let a small disagreement derail that kind of potential. There it was. The we. I decided to stop letting him dance. Me. Richard, is that why we're here? Not to talk about Jennifer, but to see if you can still get free consulting for your company? He flinched. The mask of the concerned father slipped. That's a cynical way of putting it. I'm talking about family helping family. Your son came to my home to threaten me. Your daughter sent me a fraudulent invoice for nearly $25,000. Your wife screamed at me over the phone. That's not how my family operates, Richard. What you call helping family sounds a lot like a hostile takeover. The conversation fell apart. It wasn't a clean monologue from me. It was a messy, tense exchange. He got defensive, denied everything, accused me of being arrogant, of misinterpreting everything. But the desperation was clear. I wasn't scoring points with a speech. I was just holding up a mirror, and he hated what he saw. I ended it by saying my lawyer was handling all future communication regarding Jennifer and the apartment and left him with the bill. The fallout wasn't immediate. For a week, there was silence. I thought my move had backfired. Then, I got a text from a mutual friend, Susan. Susan, OMG, are you okay? I just heard Jennifer and her dad had a nuclear fight. She's telling people he tried to use her as a bargaining chip with you and that he's the reason everything is so messed up. And there was the final piece. My confrontation with Richard hadn't made him see the light. It had made him go home, angry and humiliated, and likely pressure Jennifer even harder, revealing his true motives to her in the process. Their united front had shattered. It wasn't me against them anymore. It was every man for himself. A week after that, the moving truck arrived. It wasn't a family affair. It was just Jennifer and 2 movers she'd hired. She looked exhausted and angry at the entire world. She directed them without a word to me. When they were done, she stood at the door, her face a mask of bitter resentment. Jennifer, I hope you and your precious money are very happy together. There was no sadness, just spite. Me, I hope you find what you're looking for, Jennifer. And she left. The eviction was halted, the apartment is quiet, I lost the deposits and I have some legal fees, but it's the best money I ever spent. The justice wasn't a single moment of revenge. It was watching their greed and entitlement become the instrument of their own undoing. They didn't just lose a wedding or a potential financial windfall. They turned on each other. And that's a kind of fallout no amount of money can fix.